And look, we're live. Yay. Welcome to the Standout Show and the launch of our new monthly forum, the Market Less, Matter More Mastermind. And to give you an idea of what we're up to today, I'm going to start with this question. So, what if all the marketing must haves and the to dos and the busy work that you're up to is actually the culprit that's keeping you from doing the right things that will bring you customers? Because here's the thing, in order for you to be really successful in your business, what you really need to do is create meaningful connections with your customers.
We're on a mission to help you filter out all the market tactics that don't fit you so that you can focus on what really matters, connecting on a deeper, more meaningful level to attract your best customers, and in a way that's uniquely and authentically you. So this show is for entrepreneurs who want to build a sustainable, profitable business, and it's for those who want to do more of what they love, have more impact, and spend a whole lot less time marketing.
All right, today we have two guests. First up is relationship marketing expert and host of the Sequence Over Strategy podcast, Michelle Warner. She is, first of all, I just want to pitch her podcast. I just binged listened to all of the episodes. There's just, I don't know, 4 or 5 right now because it just launched and it's really good. Go binge it. And what she's talking about today is the marketing strategy our content obsessed world forgot to mention, which is relationship marketing. So, and guest number 2 is Tiny Marketing Agency founder, and she is the host of the Tiny Marketing Podcast, Sarah Noel Block. Sarah is going to talk about lean marketing in 6 simple steps, which is all about how to create a lean marketing strategy for your B2B service business that you can maintain even without a marketing department. So stay tuned. Here we go. And let's start the show. All right, here we all are. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you. Dang, that's a good intro. I like that.
That's what I was thinking as well. Thanks for having us.
It was zazzy.
Well, it's a trick because that music, a couple of my past guests, while we've been doing that and they're behind the scenes, they're kind of bopping and moving like this.
I was
They have
bopping.
been doing the same.
Well, what I've done with them is that when I make a clip after the show as part of like replay promotion, I will include, like, they'll be in the clip talking about what they're doing, but down below, they've got this little thing where they're bopping along. It's really great. All
Dang,
right.
I wish I bopped harder.
Well, let's get started because we're going to keep this on time. We're not going to try and make this long and drawn out. I want to just say to the folks who are listening right now, and I see several of you are here, if you have comments and questions, put them in the chat because when we're done, we're going to give you the chance to have your questions aired and answered. So all during this 2 presentations, go ahead and post your questions in the chat and we'll give some time to try and get through them all. So thanks for coming. And Michelle, you are up first. So go for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. As I said, I'm excited to be here and just thank you for everything that you said in the introduction. Because as you know, this is what I really believe in, is that we tend to be doing so many marketing things that don't ultimately matter, that feel good because you can kind of check them off a list that they're done and complete, but they probably maybe aren't doing the job that you think that they're doing or aren't converting. And there's a lot of opportunity to be doing something else. So I'm going to pull up some slides and talk about what you can be considering doing instead. And give me a second because now it is not letting me do that. But here we go. Here we go. All the practice in the world, right? And then it says, I don't think so. So what we're going to be talking about today is something I call Relationship Marketing 101. And I cheekily say the relationship or the marketing strategy our content obsessed world forgot to mention. Because my friends, there's a whole world of marketing that in my work as a business strategist and designer, in my work helping people fix their businesses, I see that folks are not taking advantage of. And then they're telling me, none of my marketing is working. I don't know how to connect with people. I don't know how to build these relationships you're talking about. And it's because they're not doing what I call relationship marketing. So let's get into it. And I am going to show you what the heck I am talking about. So when I think about marketing, I think about it on a continuum. I'm going to show you that continuum right now. All marketing strategies in this world lay somewhere on this blue continuum that you see. The left side of that continuum is made up of what I call relationship marketing strategies. The right side is made up of what I call traffic marketing strategies. Relationship marketing strategies, the most extreme form, are referrals, right? And for a lot of us who are in B2B marketing, or you're doing services, or you're doing any kind of maybe higher priced offer, referrals, that's the best lead you can ever get, right? Everybody, I hear from so many people like, oh, my referrals, they're my best clients, they're my best leads, but I just am not in control of them enough. I don't know how to find more. And so I have to be doing more marketing. And so that's the extreme side of relationship marketing. And as you see, relationship marketing tends to line up best when you have a business where you need a high quality of leads, but low quantity, AKA high-end, custom, high-touch services, right? Where you don't need hundreds of thousands of leads or clients, or even 1,000 leads or clients a year because you were doing services. That is in alignment with relationship marketing. Other side, traffic marketing. Nothing wrong with traffic marketing if your business aligns with it. The most extreme form of traffic marketing, mass marketing. I always love to call out like Old Navy, or I live in Wisconsin, so I call out Kohl's lovingly because they are headquartered here. Anybody who is pummeling you with coupons all day in your inbox, any kind of direct marketing, all of your junk mail, that is the extreme form of traffic marketing. And that at its extreme is when we need low quality leads, high quantity, because you got to pump them through a marketing funnel. And here you're talking really low conversion, right? You're probably talking about services that are relatively entry level or mass market. At its extreme, we're talking conversion rates, probably less than 1%. Whereas over on the relationship side, we're talking very high conversion rates. They can be upwards of 90%. So you can also look at this continuum for going left to right in terms of what is your expected conversion rate. Again, over on the left-hand side, very high conversion rates, 80, 90% is not uncommon if you do it right. All the way over to the right, you're going to get really low conversion rates. And all of that is normal, but it has to be in alignment with the product and service that you are offering. And we can then extrapolate that every single marketing strategy that's out there lies somewhere on this continuum between our two extremes, right? So if we're talking about posting on social media, if we're talking about writing an email newsletter, launching a podcast, all of those things lie somewhere on this continuum between relationship marketing and traffic marketing, and somewhere again in that kind of conversion play of, hey, what kind of relationship am I expecting to build with someone through this strategy? If it's a better relationship, they're probably over on the left-hand side and it's a relationship strategy. It's a little bit more transactional. They're probably over on the right side. Now, here's the trick of this. Relationship marketing, it is a little bit in the gray areas. It's pretty nuanced and it's hard to teach. And so tons and tons and tons, if not like probably well over 75%, if not well over 90% of the marketing strategies that you see talked about are traffic strategies. Here's the deal though. Half our business models are more in alignment with relationship strategies. And I would argue that every business out there, every product mix, every business model actually also has a spot on this continuum that is most in alignment with its services, with its product mix. So again, like if you're selling, high-end custom high-touch services, you are in alignment somewhere on this relationship side of the continuum. But guess what? A lot of the marketing strategies you're taught are probably over on the traffic side of the continuum because they're easier to teach. That's where we're talking about social media, email marketing. It's stuff you're a little bit more in charge of because you can just check off your list and say, okay, great, I posted on social media today. And that's not necessarily bad, but if that's all that you're doing and it's not in alignment with your business model, I am guessing, because I hear about it from people all day long, every day, that you're probably a little frustrated by the results of your efforts. And it's not that you're necessarily doing anything wrong. And this is, Brad, thanks for bringing up the podcast, because this is something I'm really trying to teach on the podcast, is that you can be the most brilliant social media person in all the world, and you can be amazing at it. But if your business model is more aligned with relationship strategies, where maybe social media is not at the top of that list, it doesn't matter how good you're at it. You are at it because it's not in alignment with your business model. And therefore, there's going to be what we call in the business world, there's going to be noise in there, aka inefficiency, aka it's not going to work as well as you want it to work. And so it's really important before you pick any marketing strategy to take a beat and say, hey, where is my business on this continuum? And therefore, what types of strategies should I be choosing? Should I be looking for relationship strategies or should I be looking for traffic strategies? And when you do that, then your world starts to change in terms of marketing because now you're choosing things that are really in alignment. And let me share, and I just talked about why all this matters. It matters because you have to be in alignment and people don't understand that. And I talk to so many businesses who are in alignment with the relationship marketing side of the spectrum, but don't even know relationship marketing exists. So when they're in that world where they're getting all these referrals and they say, oh, I wish I could have more referrals, I better do some marketing. What do? They overcorrect and do a bunch of traffic marketing and then wonder why it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because what they should be doing is finding some strategies that sit on this left-hand side with the relationship thing. And then let me show you why this actually matters and why you have so much inefficiency if you place yourself on the wrong side of the spectrum. I already said that relationship marketing inherently has higher conversion because of how it's designed. You're looking for less leads. You're looking for higher quality leads, i.e. better fit leads. Traffic side, you're looking for more bodies, more leads to put through something that's designed to be low conversion. So what does that actually mean? If you think about it, what that means is that the flow of the two funnels is opposite. You're actually creating a different type of movement in each of them. So if you're moving against that flow, you're going to screw yourself up. Let me show you what that means. I break marketing into 3 stages. Awareness, people need to know you exist. Engagement, they kind of need to understand what you're talking about, however they met you in awareness, like you're meeting me right now by talking about relationship versus traffic. So in engagement, you kind of need to understand more what that means for you. Maybe you need to hang out with me and plot where your marketing is right now in that continuum and really bring it home for you. And then sales, they need to buy something from you. So in any type of marketing, whether you're on that relationship side or that traffic side, you have to work really hard at one of these stages to create some momentum. And by working hard, I don't mean hustle. I just mean you have to have impact at one of these stages. But the stage that you have to have that impact is the opposite in relationship and traffic marketing. And this is where we get screwed up when we are working on the wrong side of the continuum, because you start having impact at the wrong place, and that just makes it harder to get your marketing through. Let me show you what I mean. In a relationship sale, we want to engineer leads that look like those referral leads. Well, what do referral leads look like? Referral leads look like a snowball running downhill. You work really hard at the awareness stage because people become aware of you when somebody sings your praises, and that has a ton of impact. And so what happens is that the sale is basically made during that awareness stage. And then it's a snowball running downhill during the rest of the marketing cycle. You're just talking logistics. Is this a cultural fit? Is this a schedule fit? Is it a budget fit? Right? But you don't have to convince them anymore. They met you at that awareness stage. They're in. So you are trying to create the momentum of a snowball running downhill. And if you don't get that referral moment, then your job is to figure out what are marketing strategies that I can deploy during awareness that will have that same impact, that will have people, that where I can work hard and have people really invested very early on with being, all in on the sale very, very early. That's how you create that high conversion stuff. Traffic is the opposite. Traffic, because you need so many bodies, because it's just designed to be that really high quantity, you can't work very hard at awareness because you need so many people in that funnel in order to make the conversion numbers work. So you have to go a little bit lowest common denominator during awareness. Whereas awareness and relationship, you are trying to have massive impact for the absolutely correct people, and everybody else, who cares, right? Because they're not your people. Traffic's the opposite. You need as many people to come in. This is more mass market. You need all the people to come in, so you can't be as specific. And therefore, you can't have as much impact because it's going to be, by definition, more generic. So when you do that, you haven't had this huge impact on people. You haven't built any loyalty yet. They don't know who you are. They've just kind of run across you and probably signed up for something that's relatively generic. So now your job gets harder. Now you got to climb a mountain. I actually call it pushing a boulder uphill, right? Instead of creating that snowball running downhill, we are trying to push a boulder uphill to get people over the edge. And now your sale becomes the place where you have to work really hard. And that's where we see, you getting bludgeoned by coupons and email. That is them working really hard at the sales stage in a traffic funnel to get you over the edge. And that's where maybe if you're an online business, we start seeing, the ticking time bombs of buy now, this is going to expire. That's people working hard at that sales stage in the traffic funnel. And then you can imagine when you cross these streams, if you will, if you're trying to sell a high cost product through a traffic funnel, and now you're pushing really hard at the sale, that feels really icky and really, really gross. And that's where things start to get really inefficient and not work well. And it's because you're creating these opposite momentums. And that's why it's so hard. Just go all the way to the back to this as I wrap up. That's why it's so important to understand from the jump, where does your business model, where does your product mix lie on this continuum? And then therefore, how can you start picking strategies that are going to create those, whichever version of the movement that we just looked at? Are you trying to create the movement in a relationship funnel, trying to create the movement in a traffic funnel? And for most of you, I'm guessing this might be a little bit of an aha moment that you need to move over to the relationship side a bit. And that's where we get into looking at the importance of building relationships and why that is so important, because you flip that mindset from getting a ton of numbers in, and instead you start zeroing in on who exactly do I need to know and why, and focus there. So with that, I know we have a ton of else to cover, so I'm going to stop here. I know we can have questions at the end, but Brad, I'm going to throw it back to you so that we can, get into a conversation and keep the show moving.
All right. Well, that was awesome. I want to say that you reminded me of something in your snowball analogy.
Yeah.
There's a film called Mosquito Coast, and in one of the sort of peak scenes, this guy who's in the middle of the Amazon jungle has created a way to make ice, and he wants to bring ice to this tribe in the middle of nowhere that has never seen ice before. And he's like, this is going to change their life. And so he takes this giant block of ice and he goes through tons and tons of trouble of hiking and lifting and whatever through this jungle. It's super arduous. Finally gets there. He unwraps it. And of course, the ice is melted. And I was going, that is so much like what you're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. I've heard of that film. I'm going to need to check it out now. Yeah, 100%. That's, you're working against yourself. Yeah.
Eva, do you have something you want to share as a takeaway?
Yeah, no, I love this. I think most people will be like so convinced, like, what the hell was I doing all this time, and really want to focus on relationship building. So are there some like tips or something that you can offer, especially to somebody starting out? Like, say they don't have any referrals. I know when I started out, you're starting a new business, so you might not know a whole lot of people. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions or tips for that?
Yeah, two things. I'm really passionate about teaching people how to kind of build what I call these ideal networks to support this. And two things. Number one, make sure that you're not trying to operate above where you're at. So again, in a relationship funnel, we're talking about very low quantity of leads that are needed and high quality. So it is totally okay and acceptable to meet one or two people at a time. I think a lot of times we get a little paranoid and think, oh gosh, if I'm building a relationship or if I'm supposed to be speaking, I need to be speaking to hundreds of people. And some of the best quality stuff happens just to one or two folks. And having said that, when you are starting out, you obviously have your ideal client avatar. You also have something called an ideal connection avatar. And those are the people who can introduce you to your ideal clients. Mm-hmm. So in a relationship funnel, you actually don't want to be trying to meet your leads by yourself, because you want to build a relationship and we want to engineer something that looks like a referral. What happens in a referral? You are introduced to somebody. So you want to be looking, and I say, like, look at who owns your audience in an uncompetitive way, but a way that you could collaborate. So who can you go build relationships with? What are profiles of people who are already talking to your audience where they can bring you in and have you talk to them? That's one of my favorite awareness strategies, is to go borrow an audience, get in front of that audience and add some value to them, and spend some time with them, right? Because we want to have impact. So don't run in and hand them a 10-point checklist. Spend an hour with them, talk to them. Frankly, do what I'm doing right here, right? I'm borrowing your beautiful audience and saying, hi, I have a thing that I think might be of value to you.
I love that. I think that's great. I mean, I know one of the things I say is like, it doesn't really cost anything if you're starting out to just write a letter about what you're doing, why you're doing it to your closest contacts and ask them for
Yeah.
referrals, and just, anyways, I love that. So thank you. That makes so much sense.
All right. So I'm going to bring Sarah up onto the stage, and we're going to get going with our second presentation. As we do this, I want to just plug Sarah's great podcast, the Tiny Marketing Podcast. The thing that I like about it, among her guests and all the stuff that she's sharing, this podcast actually comes out, the feed comes on a Sunday. And I know that as a podcast listener, Sunday is not a good day, usually. So I was like, oh, good. Sarah's podcast is here. And it's kind of like, if you're looking for something to listen to that is marketing related and kind of fun on your Sunday feed, this is one of them.
I'm surprised by how many people listen when it drops. I drop it Sunday at midnight.
Oh, right. There you go. And anyway, it's a good time, I think, for it to appear. So there you go.
Yeah, it's doing just fine. So there's some Sunday marketers out there.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you, Sarah. You're on.
Yes, thank you. My talk plays so well with Michelle's because everything that I'm teaching you today with this tiny marketing strategy is about building relationships and how you can do that at scale. So it's kind of like, going back in time, looking at her presentation, that relationship versus mass market, it kind of meets you in the middle there, where you're leveraging visibility and authority marketing to build relationships. So let's get into it. My flywheel looks like this. You have one dream client that you can serve, one signature offer, and I'll get into all of these a little bit more later. One main social channel, one core content, two lead generators, and one gateway offer. So that is all you need. That's it. And every little bit of this builds relationships with your ideal customer. And let's get into how. So this is perfect if you can't get prospects on a sales call. You're struggling to network. It doesn't really feel good to you and you're not sure how to do it without feeling awkward. If you're getting too many wrong fit leads, if you're getting pushback on if you can solve the problem, if you can't get prospects to even notice you exist, you're lacking visibility and authority, and you're getting objections about your price, this strategy will work for you because you're building trust every step of the way and you're building relationships. And as Michelle was saying, that warm introduction to someone is a great way to get a job. So, one dream client. To make this whole strategy work, you need to start with having one dream client that you want to clone. So, look at your favorite client. Who do you want to replicate? Start interviewing them, finding out what their biggest challenges are. What do they wish that your offer looked like? What transformation would they love for you to go through? And if you don't know who your dream client is, you can start having those conversations with people that you think might fall into that bucket. Review the sales transcripts from the calls that you've already had to find out what are the challenges that they're going through, what goals do they have. Join forums where they're likely hanging out and do a little digging. People are asking questions, asking for advice on there all the time. That's a whole lot of information that can help you market better. One of the things I love to do is I look at the reviews for books that are similar to my offer. So, like StoryBrand is similar in that you're talking to one specific audience and you're making them the hero of the story. But, I do things a little bit different. So what I did is I took the reviews from StoryBrand book and put it in ChatGPT and I said, ChatGPT, tell me, what do people wish was in this book that there isn't? What do people complain about? And that gave me a whole lot of ideas about how to position my offer because I knew that the people likely reading this book are my ideal customers, but I want to know what they want from my offer. And start scheduling connection calls. Those are easy, no pressure conversations, just networking conversations. But it's a good time to start talking about what your offer is, what you're considering to be an offer, and just get some feedback on it. And 50% of the time, they'll be like, you know what? I know somebody, or that would really be a great offer for me. So you can get feedback and potentially start teasing out the offer and getting people on a wait list for it. Now, if you have no idea who your dream client is, you're not alone. Lots of people don't know when they are just starting out. It takes time and testing to see who's the perfect fit for your client. So these are some questions that you want to start asking yourself. What problem do I solve better than others? What transformation have I helped people go through? What challenges would someone need to be going through to need that transformation in the first place? What type of person or business would feel this pain the most? And who needs this transformation more than anyone else? Look at all of those things. Like, who can you help really easily and change their life? That's who your dream client is. And there is very specific attributes that person will have. The next step is one signature offer. So you want to direct your dream client to one signature offer. So it's super easy to understand how they can work with you. And that doesn't mean that you need to have only one offer, but you want to have a signature offer that you're known for, a bullseye that one you can use for revenue forecasting because you know how much that signature offer is. So you can figure out how many relationships you need to build in order to meet those revenue goals. But also it's just easier to sell. You can also have an upsell from there, a bigger version of that signature offer, a downsell for people who can't afford that signature offer, and back end add-ons that you can have only available to people who have gone through that signature offer. But I'm telling you, it gets so much easier when you have that bullseye that you're getting them to go to. Next is one main channel. So, despite what you hear, you don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to be on every social media channel. But I do recommend that you have profiles on all of those channels. So, choose the one channel that your customer is most likely on. And if you're having those conversations, like I said during the dream client section, you'll know what channel that they're on. But on those other channels, lock in your accounts on all of them. So, and put the little location emoji and say what channel you're actually spending time on. So like the little emoji and then LinkedIn. Find me at LinkedIn. And then use the pin post to do three things. Tell them what you do and who you do it for. Take them to your lead generator and tell them where you spend your time online. Now, your main social media channel, that's where the relationships are being built. I use LinkedIn for that. And if you are in all of the different channels, you're not going to be able to build relationships and understand the algorithm on all of those channels, not when you're one person. So, I have to close these chats because they are distracting. So you want to use that main channel for relationship building and getting known, building that visibility there. One core content. Choose one core content and a cadence that you can commit to. It's all about trust. So that core content, if you say you're going to produce your podcast once a week and then you show up every 3 months, you're going to lose some trust. So I'm going to give you some options because the pushback that I always get is I don't have time for this. So I'm giving you some options that you will have time for. So here's my 4C method. Core content, that's what I usually recommend you go with eventually, is episodic or series content that you commit to doing on a regular basis. And that's like a podcast or this show, which is once a month. So you see, it could be once a week, it could be once a month. Just commit, do what you say you're going to do. The next one is campaign content, and that's batch creating your content around a specific offer. So you look at your offer and you break it down like What objections am I going to get on that? What transformations will people go through? What are the limiting beliefs around this offer? And create all of your content at one time. Just sit down, do it, schedule it all out. Next is collab content. This is what I recommend people do very first, the first thing, because you're borrowing someone else's audience, just like we were talking about earlier. I told you this plays nicely. So to borrow someone else's audience, you would be like co-hosting a webinar, doing something like this, doing a webinar swap. You could do a newsletter swap. You could guest on someone else's podcast. And then last takes the least amount of time, and that's curated content. So curated content is like, for an example, I create these curated playlists of podcasts on a specific topic. And then I'll just put together a landing page for it so people can do it, can listen to it. It's super valuable, but it takes me not that much time to put together. So these are all in order of what takes the most time. So core content will take the most time, curated content the least amount of time. And then if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I still don't have time for any of that, choose a hybrid option that is a core content and lead generator all in one. So if you need to condense it, it can look like a webinar series, a workshop series, a private podcast that would be gated to get access to it. Virtual summits, audio summits, panels, networking events, roundtables, all of those things drive a ton of value for your audience, and they're worth submitting your email for. But that's the thing, is you're also generating leads from it because you're getting those emails from it. So if you have next to no time, do the hybrid option. The 2 lead generators is the next piece of this flywheel. So you want 2 lead generators. You want one that's passive and one that is active. So a passive lead generator is always on. It's like a quiz, a PDF, a template, a private podcast, a guide, mini course. It lives on your website. It's maybe a pop-up that you'll see there. And maybe it's in your email signature, but it always exists. An active lead generator is time sensitive. So this can look like a panel, a webinar, a workshop. It provides some FOMO, and it will get a rush of people all at one time because there's a time sensitivity to it, obviously, hence the name. And they need to do it within a certain amount of time, where the passive lead generators drip, but you constantly get new leads, but they drip in slower, where you're going to get a bum rush with the active. So I recommend both. One gateway offer is the last piece of this flywheel. So this is a high value, low cost entry point to working with you so you can earn trust with people. This can look like a lot of different ways, but I'll get into that in a second. Pick one that's easy to replicate because it's high value, low cost. You want it to be easy enough to do. Is there a part of your bigger signature offer that you can break off into a standalone? Like my strategic story, I broke off the beginning part of it into the strategic spark, which is valuable enough on its own, but it can stand alone and someone can take it and execute it on their own. And then what is something your dream client needs to be prepared for to work with you on that bigger offer? That's another great opportunity. So you can, like, whatever would be in the pre-work category before they work with you on your signature offer could be a gateway offer. So this can look like an audit, a strategy, a report, a brief. These are all great ways to gather information about your client and build out something that can be useful to them that you can execute or they can execute. That's why it's a gateway offer, because it provides a mechanism, like a scope for what you can do, but they can also take it and run with it. The point is you want to earn their trust. That's why it's low cost. They're testing you out. They're seeing if you're a good fit. And then understand the scope of what they'll need in the future. So when you do these gateway offers, you're gathering all of the information that you'll need about them and you'll know what you should be selling on the back end, what you should upsell them to later, or what would make sense a quarter from now. And I would just want to add in there, whenever you can put in optimizations or audits within like every quarter, and those give you opportunities for upsells later on with your signature offer. And guess what? Once you've completed enough of these gateway offers, you circle back all the way to the beginning and you can refine everything. So, your gateway offer allows you to interview your dream clients. You understand where they're at now, the challenges they're dealing with, what their goals are, where they spend their time online, how they make buying decisions. And then you can go all the way back to the beginning and you can refine it. Like, okay, I've done these gateway offers and I've realized I don't really like working with X. So you can cut that and make a new dream client avatar. You'll have a better idea of what that signature offer should look like after learning what transformations they want. You'll know where they spend their time online, what kind of content they like, what lead generators would actually benefit them. And then you start all over again. So it all plays really, really nicely together. And that is that. That is the entire tiny marketing strategy flywheel that gets better and better every year because you're getting the information you need from that gateway offer to refine it.
All right. Well, cool stuff. Yeah, got a couple takeaways that I just want to share quickly. One is just that the whole thing about one, like focusing on one, I can't underline that more,
Yes,
emphatically. It's like
me
if
either.
the trouble with entrepreneurial folk, and I am as guilty of this as anyone, is that the reason that we do the stuff we do is we have tons of ideas, we're super creative, and we're completely addicted to the new, the shiny. It's like, oh, I have 100 ideas this morning. Let's do all of them.
Yeah, you know what? The best marketing, the most successful marketing feels really boring to you because it's
Right.
working and it's repeatable.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's so completely true. And the other thing that I just want to share is just that I think between you and Michelle, a lot of the work that I do in the marketing realm is really combining what you guys have both been talking about. I mean, this is an example of that. I look at, well, how can I develop a really cool bunch of relationships and bring on some of my favorite people and/or somebody who might possibly be a dream client and have a real genuine, long, meaningful exchange with them, and do it in a way that not only are we doing it, like whoever I'm with in this process, but now, as we see in the chat and the people who are watching live, there's a bunch of other people participating at the same time, which is more relationship and community building. And then, of course, because all of this is being recorded, in fact, this is being recorded on 4 separate pieces of recordings, like 4 separate videos. Now I have, if I want to do content marketing, if I want to get on that gerbil wheel, I've already got a ton of content just from this one event. And that is going to last me for some time to come in terms of who else is interested in sharing that around and all that kind of thing. And this people think about content creation and content marketing and podcasting and all these things, they have this vision of it that makes it seem much harder than actually it really needs to be in many cases.
Yeah. And that's it. Content marketing is such a great relationship builder when you are collaborating with people. We met through content marketing.
We did. Right. All right. Well, we have a couple. Let me see here. All right. So Brady's on here and he says, see if I can bring this on. What's the best way to know when to upsell somebody?
What is the best way to know when to upsell someone? So what I do is during that scoping period, during that gateway offer, I have already identified the roadmap of what would make sense for them to do a year from now. So I just plan into my signature offer quarterly check-ins or audits, optimizations, so that I have a reason to say, okay, this is this is the point in the year that you should be doing X. So let's get this rolling. So that's how I do it.
Right. Cool. Well, all right. So there's a longer list here. So it says, let's see. Okay. So percentage that we should be targeting. I have clients that want to upgrade, but then they decided they don't want them to because we tried to. The whole thing is in here. Well,
I'm guessing.
I tried to upsell them too much. That's the end of that sentence at the end.
If you plan it out in the gateway offer, like when you are delivering whatever that documented gateway offer looks like, and you put in there what would make sense for them to do, what their roadmap looks like, then they're primed and they're expecting to hear from you at certain points in the year on what would make sense. So that's an easier way to do it. And also just read the room. You know, when you're having those conversations with people, if they're interested in upselling or if they're like, all right, I've maxed out my budget, enough. So it's a little bit of strategy within that initial scoping period and a little bit of psychology and reading if they're interested and open to it.
Yeah, great. All right. Eva, you have something you want to share? Question?
No, I thought it was great. I talk a lot about content marketing too. It's so hard to get clear on your content. Do you have like suggestions for people if they're not sure how, like what content what to say? Is it from your research, or how does somebody get started?
Well, if you don't know what to say, the first thing I do is go on my sales transcripts and start seeing what questions pop up. Just listening to people helps a lot. I'm in a fortunate circumstance where I'm having conversations with my clients and my clients' clients constantly as I'm building out their own strategies. So I have more insight into what people care about. But just listening to those questions, looking at your social media, what comments are people putting on there that you could respond to in content? All of my friends joke because I say everything is content. Basically, every conversation I have, I can tie it back to some sort of content. But it comes down to what are those frequently asked questions? Go through your offer. When I don't know what don't know what to talk about on social media, I pull up this flywheel that I showed you guys, and I think about the questions that come up about little pieces of it. I just break off a little piece of it and talk about it.
Yeah. No, I love that. It's like we make things so complicated, right?
Yeah, and it's all probably right there on your website. You just break a little piece off.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think we'll start to wrap this up. I want to just thank you both for coming on today. This was really cool. This is the first iteration of this particular forum. It's going to happen on the 4th Wednesday of the month. And Michelle, if people want to reach out to you and follow up and connect with you further, besides your podcast, or in addition to your podcast, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can always reach out. My website is themichellewarner.com, and there's plenty of places to connect with me there. I host a free monthly event where I answer a bunch of questions, probably similar-ish to this. So you can register there. It's called the Tiny and Strong Roundtable, and you'll see that right on my homepage at themichellewarner.com.
All right. Well, we'll make sure that links to you are going to be in the show notes when the podcast of this recording comes out. And Sarah, how about you? What's the best way to connect with you?
One, I just want to point out she's doing a hybrid strategy, the core content and lead generator. They can find me at sarahnoelblock.com, my name. You can go to sarahnoelblock.com/club if you want to watch the whole masterclass on the piece that I talked about today. There's a bigger version there. And you can learn more about how to join the Tiny Marketing Club. And, I'll hold your hand as we work through your own marketing.
All right. Well, again, thank you all for coming on today. This has been brilliant. And for all the folks joining live, thank you all for being here, and stay tuned for more of this coming on the 4th Wednesday next month. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. So long.
Thank you so much for having us.